Bubble pop to check it. So I'm making a sign. It means you have only 2 more minutes. Okay. So this not the yellow side. So first, we like to the first topic is third body logistics usage and practice and procedure process case study of banker organization. This will present will be sent by the chat team.
3 p.m. users from
Okay. So I think also the discussion, Dr. Sahai will help us to close this session. So let's start. Let's welcome Dr. Jeffrey.
You are from Bangladesh?
No, from Syria. Good afternoon. This presentation is basically a paper coming out of PhD work undertaken by Nasreen Akhtar. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, and so I'm presenting on behalf of her. The topic has been actually outlined by Chair the usage processes and talk about case study of Bangladesh. Just an agenda for this talk, present the background, then I'll set out research questions that I will try to tackle later on. Research framework, followed by this methodology. I'll talk about who we actually surveyed, and I'll then present results and analysis of that. I would also touch base on cross-country comparison, which is basically calculated tables, to give a perspective of the users happening in Bangladesh compared to other countries. Bangladesh has tremendous potential and has been seen as a great destination for global outsourcing, particularly in the textile and apparel industry, which is also a hub for ship wrecking work and has been emerging as very high growth economies down the track. It also, the country has also been characterized by export-oriented space. Location is perfect in terms of being a significant geostrategic location in the subcontinent as well as in Asia. Lower level cost is a very strong competitive advantage for Bangladesh. Bangladesh also has a large skilled workforce that gives the country a competitive edge over other countries in Asia. More recently, government policy has been always quite favorable to industry to support attract foreign direct investment in Bangladesh. So it has a lot of potential. Transport sector played a significant role. It accounted for about 11% of the total GDP in 2011 to 2012 to 2013, and its share of that increased quite substantially. So what this paper is all about is to capture and explore the usage pattern, 3PL usage pattern in terms of the extent of 3PL usage, 3PL decision process, and the impact of 3PL and future trends of 3PL in Bangladesh. So I'll be specifically set out 4 different questions, which I will answer as I progress this talk. The first one is, what is the extent of 3PL services usage in Bangladesh? The second one, what factors comprise the 3PL service decision-making process? How 3PL usage contributes to organizational performance? And finally, what is the future of 3PL services in Bangladesh? We have used a framework that has been developed to measure CPU use practices in compartmentalized into three domains. The first one is the extent of CPU usage, which could be investigated through a number of items that are listed there in the first column. So number of CPU providers used, length of experience, logistics services outsourced, so on and so forth. 3PL decision making, which has been captured through the organizational level, functional areas that are involved in decision making, and sources of information being obtained to make such decisions. Impact of 3PL usage being captured through a wide variety of constructs, which are listed in the third column: logistics system performance, customer satisfaction, employee morale, logistics cost, benefits of 3PL, and of course the difficulty arises out of 3PL usage. And finally, the future usage as envisaged by the industry in the future. So basically, this research, we have employed 23 survey items. We did a cross-sectional online survey. Survey instrument being developed and informed through the framework that I described earlier, which captures the extent of current 3PL usage, impact, decision making, and the future plan. Data collection is last, and the data was collected in 2012 and 13. We had a success rate of about 20-25%. The survey was conducted in Dhaka Industrial District, and we have taken the sample from the Bangladesh Chambers of Commerce and Industry database. This slide basically illustrates the profile of survey participants, as you can see on the pie diagram there. The industries that are being captured come from various different parts, predominantly from the pharmaceutical, telecommunication, banking and financial institution. Largely, as you can see on the pie diagram, there are a lot of services industries that are involved and those who are participated in the survey. We got about 76% of the male participants against about 24% of female participants and respondents. Majority of them have postgrad qualification, so they have a very advanced level of training. So this is sort of a sample. So going back to the question that I put forth earlier, the extent of 3PL usage, how frequently 3PL services been used in those industries in Bangladesh, particularly focusing on Dhaka, which is the capital of Bangladesh. About 63% of the 243 respondents, those who respond to the questionnaire, use 3PL services. Where on the other hand, we got 37% which indicate that they don't use 3PL services. The majority of them use. Out of those, unfortunately, they don't have long history of using 3PL. 32% only indicated that they use 3PL service for more than 5 years. So, in other words, they have recently started using 3PL. They don't have long history of in that domain. Freight forwarding and order fulfillment, and there will be a further breakdown of the usage pattern in the next slide, are the functions that are largely outsourced to 3PL. So here's the breakdown. So out of the people surveyed, 42% said they use 3PL service freight forwarding, 41 for order fulfillment, about 39 for shipment consolidation, about 38 for logistics information system management. There are not many people those who are actually using 3PL for product assembly and installation. That has been largely done in-house. Fleet management operation, HR recruiting, not been used, not using all sources of 3PL. Also the customer spare parts and kind of services involved with that. In terms of the 3PL decision making, most of those decisions are made at the corporate level, which is about 64%. Not much been undertaken or decided at the local level, or the division level or unit level. Information were largely sourced about 3PL services through other logistic professionals, about 48%. Sales calls by 3PL representatives for promoting 3PL usage. Some of that being also outsourced from the advisory professional publication, which encourages the companies to use 3PL. In terms of decision making, the most the functional area that are largely involved in the process of making decisions to use or not to use 3PL include purchasing, about 48%, marketing, 53%, not so much on the legal aspect. That functional area not really involved in the decision making. No, the manufacturing and or the finance that much, which is an interesting outcome from my perspective. Impact of 3PL usage is also quite fascinating. Largely 3PL being used to reduce the cost, increase the delivery, and also to access to the world market, which was not economically possible when using your own fleet. These are the most sizable benefits which have been deflected by the respondents. Almost 1/4 of respondents face significant problems due to the lack of understanding of the company's requirements, so there is some sort of mismatch which requires further alignment between what the company requires and what is being serviced. The leakage of compatible information has been reported as the most problematic aspect of 3PL usage, meaning that you lose control of your market and the potential of your secrets to go out of the market. Less than 0.5% responding companies indicate they have eliminated more than 6% full-time employees due to their use of 3PL. In other words, what's being indicated in the research is 3PL or outsourcing is not necessarily replacing workforce in those organizations. They've been put into other types of functional areas, which is an interesting outcome from mine. So, as I described earlier, the most salient advantages and disadvantages are listed in this slide diagrams. So, the first one is, of course, the most important one, the lowering cost, which is about 46. Accessibility to more market, which wouldn't be possible economically if you're using your own fleet, because the 3PL has capacity and ability to consolidate trade from multiple suppliers and deliver in remote areas that are largely uneconomical in that sense. It also helps in terms of faster delivery, so just-in-time type of studies would work when you use 3PL. On the other hand, lack of understanding the company's requirements being cited as a disadvantage for the company's supposed to respond to the survey. Leakage, as I said before, lack of control, operational failure, and so on and so forth. Interestingly, if you look at this diagram here, which basically shows the impact of 3PL on employee morale, customer satisfaction, performance, and cost. It largely have a positive impact across the board, largely in terms of logistic cost, reduction in logistic cost, in terms of improving the performance of the system and the network. It also allows companies and organizations to enhance the satisfaction of customers. It's not so much the benefits being seen in terms of the employee morale, which is only reported to be 56% of total respondents, meaning there are some sort of negativity happening which demoralizes the employee working in the company's comes to their job security. But overall satisfaction with the 3PL being seen as being significantly important and correlated across the three different items that are here: performance, satisfaction, and morale. In terms of the future use of 3PL services, about 60% of respondents have used 3PL. Were both satisfied with the performance. Only 2% responded very high level of satisfaction, and only 1.2% were unsatisfied or dissatisfied with services provided by 3PL. More than 80% of respondents basically indicate that they could increase 3PL moderately or in some cases substantially in the future. We've run some Icsclm tests which shows that there is a relationship, positive relationship between overall satisfaction. So once you have a positive satisfaction with the services provided by 3PL, there is a high likelihood that you would increase your 3PL usage in the future. Responsible organisation also tends to have high commitment towards current and future use of 3PL. So people, those who are committed, they are more likely to enhance or increase the future use of 3PL services. Now, I have a couple more slides, and I have 2 minutes to go, but I won't emphasize too much on that. But this can be available to you. This table basically lists a comparison of the case study of Bangladesh across all of the other case studies that have been done internationally, including US, Australia, Singapore, India, Saudi Arabia, and Europe, of course in different dates. The instrument that we have used in our case study are being taken from those case studies as well, so they're being synchronized so that we can make a comparison. Largely, as you see on the table, Bangladesh, where the most outsourced services are being reported to be freight forwarding, which is about 3%, while in Europe it's all about this shipment consolidation being most outsourced. Carrier selection in Saudi Arabia, shipment again consolidation being seen as the most important, most widely cited functional area for outsourcing in Singapore. Level of commitment in Bangladesh is moderate, while if you look at in Australia it's quite extensive. In the US again it's quite limited. So Bangladesh in that sense is doing quite well. However, it tends to spend less money committed to 3PL usage, as you can see in comparison to the country in Bangladesh. What else? The marketing area is the functional area which are largely involved in decision making, which is a surprise to me. I thought accounting and finance would be more involved in that process, which is the case with the US, Saudi Arabia, with. So that's it. I'm happy to provide you this table if you want to have a look at that. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you, presenter, Dr. Ed. Then I'd like to invite Professor Dr. Sahai to comment and opinion.
You can be here. Thank you. It was a nice session, presented very well. I have certain issues at the research room, because if at all one looks at it is only an exploratory research. All questions are one relationship which has been established is where type test has been done, with the satisfaction level and future usage, which is very, very obvious. If I'm satisfied, then I will use. It would have been better if this study would have taken certain causal relationships and questions in that line would have helped probably Bangladesh industry and the government to frame policy. I was a little concerned With the data, I don't know, West only about 10.8% revenue from 10.8% of GDP from supply chain. Though I agree that the marketing department does amazing because the consolidation, they get the order, but here you have so many opportunities like marketing department and forwarding and shipping, XYZ. Would not be a good, this is a question, this is not a comment. Would an integrator, if we can provide an integrator in the supply chain who integrates all those activities, would it not be faster and cheaper to contact Bangladesh? So this is about main supply. India, China supplies it all over the world, but major two trade partners are China and here, apart from shipping, till land route, India also uses land. If you are doing study at national level, probably those things are studied in research. And one really wonders why people are against for two parts. One is lack of understanding of the company's requirement. If I am the 3PL provider, obviously I am talking to my client, and the first thing is that I need to understand their requirement. So what's wrong there? I mean, this is another question to you. Why there is secrecy part? Yes, I also have come across they would not like to share their data. They would not like to go to a 3PL rather than in the broken way which you want to do with supply chain master. And then you said that Bangladesh is very cost effective, good manufacturing, possibilities. Then why is it that marketing data is the main provider for 3PL jobs rather than the manufacturing? These are some of the questions for me.
Thank you very much. Look, I'm not an expert in Bangladesh. Nothing in PhD students and the fact research with me. This survey is in fact a peripheral survey attached to the main survey, whereby she is investigating the intention to use 3PL using the remember that theory, planned behavior theory. So that's the core. So she's collecting a wide variety of items informed by that theory, and this is an attached to that main survey. She also aiming to undertake and build the specification model, which will allow her to investigate different happy uses and the reason for that. And I really appreciate your comment on that, because without understanding the causality, it would be an incomplete research from that perspective. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome the attendant in your opinion or your suggestion or question.
Any questions or
Yeah,
go ahead.
The country-wise comparison which you showed towards the last level, it was based on what kind of data? Is it a instrument-based response from which you have derived this?
What we did in the Bangladesh survey, we've taken the items that have been used in previous studies, so that we can make a comparison. So the survey is based on the case studies which have been taken at multiple places.
No, its question is slightly different. He says that cross-country data you have to run. Is it based on primary research or it has been taken from published?
It is taken from the published. So we pick up a paper which basically report findings, and we create a table and we report our findings. We have no access to the data.
Bangladesh figures you have developed here?
Yes, we conducted and surveyed 240 organizations.
Yeah, because time constraint, we have to give a big hand. Then welcome the second paper. Who is the speaker? Not here? Yeah, challenge and opportunity in core supply chain logistics. Not here? Okay. Maybe you will show up later. So the third paper is establish links between supply chain process efficiency and company financial efficiency. No speaker? What about the fourth one?
Sir, will I just check next door in case there's confusion
please.
between the sessions? Yeah.
About the fourth, how about the fifth?
There are three speakers.
Maybe next door, stay in chair or something. How about the fifth? Yeah, so because we have the, are you okay? So maybe you go to, because the second, third, and the fourth papers, the presenter was next. Fourth, maybe we go to the fourth, fifth. Yeah. So maybe let's move to the fifth paper, the critical factor for successful implementation of green supply chain management in electrical and electronic industry. Let's welcome.
I'm P. Acharya, Associate Professor from ABB IIII in Gwalior.
Okay, let's welcome.
So, thank you. My presentation today is based on a qualitative research which we had carried out in the electrical and electronics industry in India. In fact, we are talking of green supply chain, eco-friendliness, environment friendliness, and in a country like India where there is a huge consumer market for electrical and more prominently electronics industry, there this issue of green supply chain assumes importance in the context of the waste, in context of the overproduction, in the context of where to reuse and how to actually manage the waste. So in that context, this paper assumes importance. In fact, I don't need to really highlight on supply chain management because we have already had a lot of this. So I will just confine my discussion to green supply chain management. In brief, I would say this is about making the entire supply chain environment friendly. And with regard to why GSCM is required, in fact, this is an understatement because with the growing concern among organizations to save the environment from degradation, awareness among customers, our customers are increasingly more aware of the quality of the product and the harm it causes to the environment. So that actually is a wake-up call to the companies. Now, the laws and regulations that are imposed by the governments from time to time that acts as a push factor for organizations to have a competitive advantage. Now, eco-friendliness in the entire business adds to the brand image of the company. So, companies are aware of it and want to invest in it. So I was talking of the push factor. So the push factor here is environmental laws and regulations imposed by the local government. Similarly, the environmental policies and regulations which are imposed from time to time by international bodies. So we have Kyoto protocols and the likes. With increase in concern and awareness among customers. So these are the push factors which really propel the companies to produce eco-friendly items. Now the pull factor is organizations tend to gain competitive advantages from their rivals by implementing it earlier than the others. I mean, the first time to market with eco-friendly items is always a big boost to the entire business. Now, green brand image in the eyes of the customers. Then corporate social responsibility is part and parcel of that. It's no more just growing trees and building roads and all that. It is all about how we produce our items, how we liaise with the suppliers, how we package the product and sell it and all that. So consumers giving a preference to environmental friendly products. Now, in a nutshell, if we look at the green supply chain management, it includes basically 4 components. There is green procurement, green manufacturing, green distribution, and reverse logistics. Now, green procurement is ensuring that the raw materials and component items, all accessories which we procure from the first line, the second line suppliers adhere to the eco-friendly principles. Because unless the raw materials are of eco-friendly or green items, we cannot just assemble them or use them in our process and make it a eco-friendly product. Now, green manufacturing, we are all aware of the entire process of starting from housing the items in the central stores to producing in the stock stores to actually stocking it in our warehouse, and the distribution channel, which are part and parcel of our supply chain down to the customer level. Then green distribution really looks after that distribution channel. Then coming to the reverse logistics, looks at proper waste disposal. I mean, the onus lies on the companies to take back the used items to prevent it from being thrown to the atmosphere and really causing hazardous effects on the atmosphere. Now, not just that, but also to effectively reuse the items so that we don't produce more. I mean, there is an issue like produce more, market, sell more, and it gives a positive cycle. But one problem of this is we also consume more from the environment. So I'm a little wary of all this talk on marketing and a positive business cycle. All of us should be wary of it. Buy more. Everybody says buy this, buy that, buy this, buy that. And every 6 months we throw a mobile phone. Do we worry where they go? So these are issues to really ponder about. Every other day new buildings are raised. Do we ponder about where they are raised? On which piece of land? We are all near Delhi, in fact in Delhi, and we all are aware of the NCR region and Noida, the greater Noida and all that. Okay, if I buy a property, I feel happy about it, but I also get worried when the river basin of Jamuna gets shrinking each and every year. So that is something to worry about our future generations. Now, reverse logistics looks after that. So if there is a scope to actually reuse, there is a study I just overheard, I am not going to substantiate it, that majority of the mobile phones which are phone, one is the vanity aspect, the style aspect and the new technology aspect, that's all fine, but for some little defects of telephones, mobile phones, which are thrown back, hardly 3 to 5% of the entire component of the phones are deformed. Almost 90 to 95% of that is reusable, but nobody is really bothered about it. How many times we have come up in newspapers and also in TV channels showing piles of used and semi-used mobile phones in streets. So the purpose of this study is to identify critical factors important for implementing green supply chain management. And electronics and electrical industry is the one which I targeted, basically because of that. There are harmful effects of the component items of particularly electronic industry, the telephones and all those on the environment. The methodology which has been followed here is the literature review, followed by survey questionnaire and the data which has been collected based on that. And we have analyzed the data. It's basically, again, I reiterate that it's more of a qualitative analysis, not much of a quantitative analysis for very specific reasons which I will mention at the later stage. So, then of course result and discuss. Now with regard to identification of critical factors from literature, quite a good amount of literature has been referred to. And I have made a summary table of criteria, sub-criteria, and some of the important papers which has been important authors in that particular area. So basically we have divided this to 4 criteria, namely management approach, supplier involvement, organizational encouragement, and innovative green practices. And some of the papers which are in those respective areas, the sub-criteria are also mentioned herein, are mentioned in the last column. To emphasize on that, management approach basically includes stock management support, then environmental policy and regulations. Supplier involvement includes supplier manufacturer involvement in Icsclm improvement and development process, environmental auditing for suppliers, then supplier evaluation and selection. Organizational encouragement includes environmental education and training to motivate the employees to achieve efficient green supply chain management. Some of the innovative practices, green practices, the firms adopt are in the areas of green procurement, green design, green and cleaner production and green distributions, green packaging and labeling, reuse, recycle and recovery of the material. With regard to the data collection, in fact, a total of 38 industries were surveyed in these 2 fields. And 71% of them are in electronics and 29% are from the electrical. And some of the firms who participated in this study, I'm thankful to them. They have been listed here. Sorry for missing out few firms in the list because I feel all of them are here. In fact, the other details with regard to the respondent profile, with regard to their experience in the concerned organization and their total experience in that kind of industry, somehow is not here. I'm sorry, but it is there in the main paper which has been given to the conference. You can refer to that. The analysis of data. What we have done, the entire survey instrument has been designed on a Likert type scale, 1 to 5, and based on the responses received, we have computed the mean and the standard deviation of each of these factors, and based on the mean of those items, we have ranked them. So that means where there is maximum value of mean means they are ranked highest. because there is maximum preference for that kind of item. So you can see that the items under management approach tend to have a relatively healthy rank because of the high means they are all enjoying. With regard to supplier involvement, same cannot be said. The average mean lies anywhere between 3.26 to 3.97. Similarly, organizational encouragement also do not have a very high mean. And innovative green practices where a lot of issues were raised before the manufacturers and the companies, such as the use of recycled material in packaging, fuel-efficient transport system, eco-labeling, eco-friendly disposal of the product, regularly examine production process to reduce the amount of waste, energy consumption and emission. So whole lot of such things were raised, and there has been a wide dispersion of ratings as is evident from a low of 3.37 to a high of 4.39. So there are some items which have been highly preferred, that means practiced, and some which are not that highly preferred, that means they are currently not practicing them. So that is what is the thing. So once we have obtained this result, then we analyze. With regard to management approach, the analysis shows that it is the most important factor for successful implementation of GST. Obviously, when management thinks that this is important and we need to carry out, then they give a go-ahead signal, and rest all follows downstream. That is what is evident because most of them have a mean value in excess of 4. It is important that GSTM practices are encouraged by senior management and that they regularly monitor it. It is also observed with the help of this study that most of the organizations have developed their own environmental policy and auditing programs. Also, most of the organizations surveyed are ISO 14001 certified. So they are mostly ISO 14001, so they conform to environmental standards specified therein. With regard to supplier involvement, sub-factors are not that high. Organizations do not attach much importance to involving suppliers in GSTM practices. This is important. They don't want to involve suppliers, so and prefer to pass on the buck to them for the delay in implementation. Unless you involve them in the early stage, you cannot say at the latter stage of the product development, this is because of these people, they are defective items and all kinds of them, and the not so green and eco-friendly items. So they have to be involved there. Organizational encouragement also have not given us very good ratings. There has been largely resistance to involving employees by managers in green supply chain practices. Lack of motivation and lack of education and training of employees, because unless you involve the people, the motivation will not come. Then unless the motivation is bolstered or enhanced by developing and providing training programs to the employees to update themselves with the changing environmental norms and rules and procedures, they won't really come up. Managers do not want to spend money and time in educating and training of employees in issues related to environmental factors in processes and products. So these are some of the hard facts which came out of this survey. Design products which are eco-friendly in nature, energy efficient and reduce waste. So some of the important innovative green practices which are followed by these industries are regularly monitor the way production process to improve efficiency, reduce waste and energy consumption. waste minimization, better resource utilization and all that. This shows the focus of organization lies in improving their products to make them environmental friendly. But there is a closed room mindset that I'll do everything myself. Well, I won't involve the other stakeholders. That's never possible in a supply chain kind of a thing. And these are some of the other innovative features. So there are basically two important findings here. One is individual effort vis-a-vis collaborative effort. Where there is a lot of thrust on individual effort, the organization put the individual efforts in improving the environmental performance of green supply chain practices rather than collaborative approach. So while there is a lot of stress on eco-design, green production, ISO certification obtaining, but when it comes to collaborative approach through involvement of suppliers and employees in the organization, not much can be said about it. Then lack of encouragement for suppliers and old employees, that's again a similar kind of thing. So unless these two components are really taken care of, whatever effort they are putting at individual level, the managerial staff will not get the full state or the desired output. So this is the basic GSTM framework which has been suggested here. And this is more of a comprehensive framework. And the limitation of this study is, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is a qualitative research, and 38 industries were involved in this survey, and responses were sought mostly from managers. So that also is a limitation, because all are from managerial cadre and there is a distinct bias in the output. The same findings could be corroborated if we seek responses from other levels, those who are at the operational level. The other limitation is the less number of responses. So 38, when we talk of interacting with 38 industries, that's a big number in Indian context. But when we convert it into the number of responses, 38, because there is only one response from a top manager in that particular firm. So that number is again less. So when you have a less number of response, conducting quantitative analysis becomes difficult. So as a future scope, responses from all cadres to alleviate that kind of biases as is evident here, and to get more responses so as to make it more quantitatively relevant. So with this, I conclude and thank you for the presentation.
Professor Hai, comment and opinion first. Thank you very much for presenting a nice paper. I have certain suggestions to improve it and some comments. You say qualitative study, and you say 38 companies. Even 3 companies, case-based research is acceptable in this arena, provided you get into depth. Here I find your total study is just superficial, to give it questionnaire and just give a descriptive statistics. What is needed, and you put either way. You want quantity, yes, go ahead, all industry. But one thing for sure, if you want supply chain, just the manufacturing organization survey has got no meaning in the supply chain. Because the manufacturing supplier is there, his supplier is there on one end, on the down side, you have what? Your immediate buyer, next level distributor, finally consumer. Then only you have studied the supply chain. Otherwise, you have only studied green manufacturing practice, that particular company or company. I find many of the conclusions that you draw, they are not based on your research or questionnaire, they are your personal opinion. And then, why, I would not call this research, I just want to give you what quantitative. Yes, but you had a conceptual framework, and the four things that you are living and connecting, that's your conceptual framework. But what I say in the last process requires to be non-inclusive. And it's your option. As a researcher, you can take downside, you can upside, you can do only green manipulation. Now, I've got some very difficult questions. Because I myself got Prime Minister's Award for best environmental activity. But you are saying use green material. Now tell me which material is green material. Is the raw material whether you put paint or plastic or so what is green? That's the question to me. Then critical factors you said management approach supply, economic organizational encouragement and innovative green practices. Now these things, these have come as an outcome of your research, or this is what is your demand? This is another question.
Yeah.
Just let me complete this and then you can. Then you have said that ISO 14001 all these companies will follow. ISO 14001 first premise is that every employee should know your environmental policy. Say by ISO 9001, where your quality standard has to be known, it should be debated, deliberated among all employees. So I am not questioning you, I am questioning the automatic granting ISO 14001. If you say that other than the managers, nobody knows, then they are not ready. They should not get ISO 14000. I have many more, but if you can reflect on some of the issues that I raised.
With regard to the framework, the conceptual framework, which includes four factors, which I have outlined in the table. It is based on the papers which are reviewed to bring in, and in fact when all the papers which were reviewed were summed up, then the items or where they emphasized that particular thing were all summed up and they were grouped into four categories. Such kind of a thing can always be done by doing a factor analysis kind of thing. Okay, so when you have so many indicators, you make an exploratory study, then come up with a factor analysis and identify that these are the four factors, and then it becomes a conceptual framework, which if you want to be validated, you go for a confirmatory factor analysis, a structural equation modeling, and all kinds of things. That's what I am saying. I mean, that kind of a thing was not done. So it started with the postulate that these are the four based on the research papers we have received, and the soft factors, the number of papers which cater to the soft factors, and those soft factors coming under those the four factors. So either you start with a conceptual model based on the literature review, or you validate a conceptual model with the help of an exploratory and further with a confirmatory research. So that's what I mentioned.
These inputs are just to improve the paper.
Yeah. Same kind of thing. I mean, you can be done.
I have to stop you because I need some response from this side. Okay. Please.
Thank you very much. That you mentioned about your factor.
Put it on.
Yeah, that this is a question about factor analysis. So there, and you said you got there 38 examples, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure whether can you do factor analysis with this small sample?
I will not advise factor analysis to be conducted with a small sample like size of 38. You can do it, a particular exploratory factor analysis you can do. See, an alternative approach is just forget about the first column of that table. Forget about the first column of that table of research literature which I had shown. And just take the middle column where all the items are given. And with that, you design a questionnaire and have a huge sample size and then make a factor analysis. That is an exploratory factor analysis kind of thing. Then from that, the factor loading, you can come up with the factors. Okay, got your point?
Maybe later on we can discuss it more. So maybe I ask one more question or suggestion.
So one question was there. Professor Sahai also asked that. What is green, whatever you said, green material, right?
Yeah.
How, and where do we get that and what exactly is that? You also talked about that.
Yeah. See, what happens, suppose it is a raw material item. Okay. Suppose there are three materials which are possible to be used as a raw material component item in a final assembly. Okay. The one which has the least carbon credit, least emissions, okay, easier decomposition level, okay. So there could be several such parameters which will define how green a component item is. If we go to each and every aspect of this to justify how green an item it is, then it will be an altogether different thing. It will be an altogether different one. My point here is, we have taken a very general framework of research where responses have been received from the farms, based on which the general perspective with regard to managing green supply chain in a farm has been outlined.
Yeah, let's give a big wonderful. Everybody understands that you got a lot of response. Okay. Congratulations. Thanks. to be upset. Yeah, so everyone knows your presentation is not very big picture. Thank you. The third one. The second one was the third one. Yeah, now you move to the third one. Okay, then move to the third paper, second paper, challenges and opportunities in code, supply chain, logistics. Challenges. And it will be done by Mr. Sauer.
Good evening, everyone. This is the last presentation of the day, and we'll be very quick. So we'll take you through our presentation very quick. With me is Ravi Poti. We work at JD Software in Hyderabad, and part of our job is to do research. So we don't have the time to set a questionnaire and and analyze that. We find a quick way to do our work, and this is presentation result of one of those quick ways that we have derived. Okay, and agenda very quickly. Why we took up this study, the study of cold chain supply chain in India, and then the framework that we applied, and I have this final conclusion. So, these are the few facts on the screen. India ranks first in meat production, okay, and is the second in fruits and vegetables production. But interesting fact is that the amount of fruits and the vegetables that is wasted in India is more than the production of fruits in UK. So you can imagine the amount of food that gets wasted in India, and that's where the importance of coal supply chain comes into picture. The reason why the coal supply chain is of interest of today for us is that a couple of years back the government has recognized coal supply chain as an infrastructure theme. What does that mean is that there will be lot of focus from government on this theme, and we have seen the development in last 2 years. Like we have seen FDIs coming into India and trying to invest into this. We'll see more about this in our next slide of presentation. So these are the few questions that we try to answer. What are the challenges faced by coal supply chain services in India and the service providers? How can national and regional fragmented players can come together to create a win-win situation? Because the scenario currently in India is that most of the players in the coal supply chain are very fragmented. I have a few list of so-called top companies, and I'm sure except one or two, most of us would not be able to recognize those names. But they are major players in coal supply chain. But since they are very fragmented, probably they look at just one aspect of coal supply chain. And probably, I think most of you will know that coal supply chain, again, it's a supply chain. It's not just one vertical. So you have the storage, you have transportation, again you have warehousing, and it goes up to the retail store where you have to have your products in the shelf. And coal supply chain is aimed to increase the shelf life of any product. If you look at the very important products in the coal supply chain is that you have the medicines, the vaccines physically, you have seeds, the milk products, meat. These are the important products which you need coal supply chain. But right now in the Indian scenario, if you look at the coal supply, 80% of the capacity is used just for potato. Just potato which use 80% of the coal supply chain. And other things, the fruits, vegetables, other vegetables, milk products, meat, they have just 20% of the capacity. So we'll try to look at how can these players can come together and probably how they are coming together currently, and probably the road ahead for the coal supply chain logistics in India. Okay, so it is coming later slide, and I'll just give you a bit introduction about our methodology that we followed. We sat together, we went through a few of the literature that were available. We thought that how can we do a quick analysis thing? It's for our job, right? And we have to do it. Have to be very quick on getting analysis. So we went to various models that we have, and we found the best is the best model for this kind of industry. So best is like political, economic, sociological, and technological. So we took best as basis for our study, and on that we continued our study. So first what we did was we thought let's look at the important companies into this in this segment. So just few of the companies that we selected on your screen. We took companies from dairy and ice cream industry, we have from frozen fruits and vegetables, and seeds. These are a few companies. They were candidates for our study. So these are the well-known Indian and as well as MNCs operating in India. And then we went and looked at the cold chain providers. So you can recognize the name Gati. They have India presence. But if you look at other companies and if you look at the fourth column, the operations, they are either into particular region or they are into just one segment of supply chain. So we took these companies because they are the important prominent companies in India, and then we applied what we call a 7-step theory. So our analysis is based on both quantitative and qualitative. Mostly what we did was we went to their company's website. We looked at the claims that they had on their website. Very few of them are public, so we had the annual reports also. We went through the annual reports, went through the earnings call, we went through the analyst commentary about the industry, how they have been doing last 2 years. This is just for last 2 years data. We didn't go beyond that. We wanted to understand how they are doing in last 2 years, and probably they will be doing in next 2 years. So that was the one area, and we have many grocery stores near our home. So we went to that stores. We talked to those shop floor guys because they'll give you the practical challenges that they are facing. So we spoke to them with respect to Reliance Fresh, went to Vijayta, and we tried to get the problems that they are facing. And then we looked at the interviews of various companies, executives that they're in the public domain. We looked at the comments by the experts on this industry. We got all this data together. We took almost about a month to get this data, and then we did our analysis. Okay, so this is the just listed what we have done. I already spoke about this, so I can quickly move to the next slide. Okay, so this is the framework that I talked to you about earlier. We have political, economic, sociological and technological. These are the 4 parameters of our study, and each of these 4 parameters we try to look at the current challenges. So we have current challenges under political, under economic, under sociological and technological. Similarly, we looked at the growth drivers, and also we looked at the growth strategies that companies are claiming that they'll have in coming years. So these are the top findings. So what we did was, when we were doing this analysis, we put them in a simple Excel sheet. No complex method. We just put them each challenges into. We had the 3 headings: challenges, drivers, and strategies. We put whatever we found in our articles that we had. We put them under those headings, and we just took a count. And these are the top challenges that came out. Okay. So if you look at the political challenges here, lack of government support. This was the number 1. Most of the companies were claiming that they don't have enough support from government. But probably the things are changing now. The lack of infrastructure. There is a very well-known study where they say that a truck from Mumbai to Delhi, it can take anywhere from 5 days to 20 days. Now, if you don't know whether your goods will come to Delhi from Mumbai in 5 days or 20 days, I think you cannot make a software to have that kind of variability in your system. And some of these were talked about in the yesterday's session, so probably repeating a few points there. And rising food inflation. Interesting thing that we found was that the industry like medicine, the vaccines, steel, the production is increasing in India. So these are the companies that are the growth track. They expect lots of support from their partners, like Golden partners, but there is not enough room for them to have to get into supply chain thing. So, and the food inflation is also having a burden on the whole supply chain. Economic factors was that you have logistical support, which we already talked about. Then you have the rising real estate cost. In our study, we found out that about 15% of the cost is because of real estate, and this is probably twice the size of any developed countries. High energy cost. Energy cost was about 25-30%. Again, this is more than twice of what we have in US and other developed countries. Like their energy cost is about 10 to 12%, and India is about 25 to 30%. That's very high. So again, this is hitting the whole supply chain logistics. You have social factor like already talked about fragmented players, very small players, region focused, or probably they have the segment focused. They don't have end-to-end whole supply chain, or probably they're not across India. So that's the problem. The lack of trained manpower. So I think yesterday there was a discussion, right? We have school for teaching your computer science knowledge or any engineering knowledge, but we don't have enough schools or courses where they talk about training the manpower, especially in the coal supply chain. And you know that there is a lot of human intervention in coal supply chain. It has to be transported into truck. It has to be taken out into truck, put it into warehouse. And if those people are not trained, if they don't know the importance of coal supply chain, the shelf life of product is going to go down, and probably your investment into coal supply chain is going to go well. So the training of manpower is important in India today. And overall, in India, it's a risky business. Power, that's not available 24 hours in many places. So there was a case where we saw that the Vadilal factory, ice cream in I think outskirts of Hyderabad, they didn't have power supply for almost 10 hours, and whole inventory went waste. I think it had about 8 lakhs of inventory, and whole inventory went waste. So overall, it's a risky business, and that's the reason why we don't see many people coming into this, and the development is slow. Technology, network optimization, there is a lack of applications or software where we can use it for network optimization, probably because the IT companies or IT vendors don't see much of profit coming from this sector because the product is very small. Out-of-dated current storage technologies. Most of the warehouses, the cold storage warehouses that we see in India are age old, 10 years old, 15 years old. They don't have modern technologies, to handle current demand. And again, we have old transportation technologies. We have old trucks. Probably there is a hole somewhere, and the consumption is very high. So these are some of the challenges we found out. But every dark cloud has a silver lining, and these are the few things that we think would help the coal supply chain in India to take off. Ease of FDI, because now coal supply chain is the infrastructure. It's an infrastructure. So 100% of FDI is allowed in this coal chain, and we are seeing that there is companies are interested. I think companies putting up their shop. They have not yet invested in India, but they have. I saw a study by the European industries. I've seen a study on this subject in US. So that means there are studies happening in different parts of the world. They are trying to look at India as the next destination for coal supply chain. So again, the good news for coal supply chain in India. The rise in export demand. You know that we have some of the largest pharmaceutical companies, Dr. Reddy's and others. So there is a scope for export, and that is again creating demand in India. Then you have the government has already established National Center for Coal Supply Chain Development, and that is a step in positive direction. Look at economic factors. We have growing retail, and we all know that the retail is growing, and that is again adding to the demand from coal supply chain. We have demand from pharma. I already spoke about that. Then you have. So this is a very interesting factor that we came across a study. Probably I don't know. I didn't think about this. What we are seeing that most of the families have working parents, like wife and husband are working, and we are going back to the earlier nuclear family kind of thing. So we have a joint family, and people have very less time to cook at home, and that is again putting a pressure on the frozen food that has again increased the demand for frozen food. So the scenario here is positive for coal supply chain. There is a demand, and industry has to stand up and try to fulfill that demand. Then the different attitude. As I said, the government has taken few steps, like they are promoting entrepreneurship. So based on your qualification, you get money from government. You can start your own business. So what we found was there is new entrepreneurs entering into this area. We have people trying to think of a new business venture in this area. So there is good sign for this industry. Then you have funds available. As I said, government is pushing for entrepreneurship, so funds are available for people to start an entrepreneurship venture. And the government is pushing for the small sector business. There are technological factors also which are supporting this industry, but probably not much. You have people are taking up as customer service is getting popularity. What I see in Muslim grocery store is that if there is a spoiled packet of paneer, one of those food items, probably you will not buy it. And that is putting pressure on the companies to look into their supply chain, try to solve that. There is a focus on logistics model. In our presentation, we talked about intercity and intra-city transportation, and this is another factor where helping the industry to grow. So this is one of the final findings from our side, the long-term strategy, and these are the things that we derived from our study, that there has to be or there will be PPPs, that private-public partnerships, and I think there is no point in blaming government, because government is taking steps from their side. It's up to the industry to work with them and see how this partnership can be improved. So infrastructure, we are seeing PPPs, like you can take an example of the roads that we have, Icsclm highway, all those things. So there will be PPPs in this sector as well. And then if you go to economic, as I said, the infrastructure is very old. It's probably more than 10-15 years old. So companies are investing into modernize their supply, the cold chain facilities. Then you have, in India, we are seeing emergence of 3PL. So that's again a good sign, and the companies like Amul and others will will take the help of 3PLs and make sure that they have a good full supply chain in place. So we are even seeing entrepreneurship in IT industry in India. They are very, we have seen many college pass out trying to venture their own IT companies, and they are helping these companies to have their own system in place. Okay, so this is what we had, and so what we feel is that government involvement has increased. It's up to the industry to interact with the government, to partner with the government. Government has taken first step, but it's again up to both industry as well as government to see how this partnership can go in a long way. There is an improvement in government regulations, but yes, it has to be both the ways. We cannot always expect government to give us all kinds of, this is the last slide. You can't expect government to give you all kinds of subsidies every time. Okay, and there are a few other conclusions that we have, and this is what we had today.
So here was perspective given by practitioner. First of all, those who are from abroad, those countries who wish to invest in India, there is a great opportunity. Next I go back to the master, it says got analysis, attraction analysis. What I find, you said questioner. But on technology side, really, there is nothing much. If you want to add something, you could. One of the things, why 80% is potato? Because Indian main vegetable next to wheat and rice is potato, so it will continue to be potato, despite anything else. It is more a cultural issue till the habits change. This is going to be scenario. Yeah, other part, we can't compare ourselves in cold supply chain where again USA or UK where average temperature is much lower. Their energy cost is bound to be lower if you compare the temperature here, especially in the days. So it has to be included in the total cost of the product and in total end-to-end cost of the product. There is no other go. I don't think what support the industry needs from government. Government is time and again saying they have created National Corporation. There is yet another corporation, National Skill Development Corporation. If you put in, we are also knowing, various labels. There are so many, verticals in which skill development is being taken. So that is already. About the entrepreneurship, I had experience from industry. I could create so many entrepreneurs because I could get business, I could help them raw material, X, Y, Z. But from marketing, we create incubation centers, we try to push the student in entrepreneurship. Hardly anybody, all are job seekers, nobody is job givers. This scenario, despite all government efforts. And I think this scenario is safe. We have got a specific entrepreneurship development institute in Ahmedabad. But even from that institute, I would say 95% are jobs. So the institute was set to creating entrepreneurs. So I have a question to you. How to make, some people say it is disease, you can't create entrepreneurs. Some say no, entrepreneurs can be created. So some comments on that, if you are a practice.
Yes. So you're right. You're very right. So probably when we were in college, that was a scenario. But with practical, what we can add to that was that we are seeing people are at least thinking on those lines. People like with some kind of experience in industry, they are thinking on those lines, and there are few. You have many initiatives, right? Like almost all the top colleges have entrepreneurship cells, and also you have institutions like NEN, and you're even seeing the fees from like US, other countries, India, they have Indian subsidiary, and they are trying to promote entrepreneurship.
No, my question was, how do we make it happen? How do we create supply chain so that our 50% vegetable and fruit that is wasted, they will get wasted? If you are a practitioner, you will give a solution.
I would like to make a point over here. I think on the terms of entrepreneurship, I don't think India has lacked that entrepreneurial spirit. But the thing is that a lot of these people doesn't have knowledge about the various industries. A lot of entrepreneurs invest their money in core sectors or major, headline grabbing sectors like FMCG or hotels or these high fashion industries. But a lot of people doesn't know about this food chain industry at rural area or at lower level. Making them, educating them about these kind of sectors and the returns and initiatives from government can attract more investments in this sector.
Maybe some of our participants could give your opinion.
Question.
Please.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for a very good presentation, and I'd echo what Professor Sahai says about the practitioner input is very welcome in this conference. So thank you very much. And also from your own area, IT, I think it's very welcome to see your approach. That you look at the supply chain first and the processes and challenges along the supply chain before imposing your IT solution on it. I hope there are opportunities here for investment. You're using Irish seed potatoes at the moment. Your seed potatoes come from Ireland, and I have the very same question as was asked earlier. Why is 80% the cold store for potatoes? Or do you know? And do you know where the cold stores are?
It's mostly located on the, what do you call the eastern part. You have UP and Bihar, where I think I'm right. But 60% of cold storage is the two states, very close to Delhi. So that's where most of warehouses that we have for potatoes.
Yeah.
And rest 20 to 30% are
Yeah. I've done a little bit of research on that as well, but not a lot, with a colleague from Amity Business School. And I think a lot of those cold stores are near the production centre.
Yes.
And that's not the right place for them. They should be near the consumption centre.
Exactly.
Because when you chill a potato down and then you transport it afterwards, it bruises. Whereas you've got to transport the potato when it's fresh, near the point of consumption, and then chill it down. And I think it's just a very good example of needing to have joined up thinking along the supply chain before you make investments. And it probably presents a good case study in terms of looking at government initiatives and why people draw on certain subsidies, and to your question earlier, why they don't draw on other subsidies. And in that regard, I guess if Mr. Coley was here, he would be welcoming. Well, he has this national cold chain centre, which I think is very, very welcome in India, because it's exactly that joined up thinking that will do a lot to address all of the issues that were bubbling up there.
In fact, I would suggest one level higher, how to integrate the cold chain globally.
Yeah.
So one problem,
and especially, for example, pharmacy, we are exporting a lot. Even you find with USA, UK, you find mangoes from Latin America, Mexico, Indian mangoes, sometimes I get, but mostly not. But these are very good products from India, and if we can create a global cold chain.
I think one problem what we felt was that all these products, they need different temperatures, right? And so when you're trying to think of a integrated warehouse or probably cold chain supply chain, you need to manage that also.
So management, of course, is the first. I mean, your strategy, you mentioned in the paper, the first thing is the strategy.
Right.
And these type of vegetables where they like it, I don't know, 2 days, 48 hours, like with food. Again, you have to have right from beginning, you have to have reserved space in cargo flight. That place, if you are
Okay, because time is limited, so let's give a big hand to Mr. Flower. This session we have 5 papers on these 3 papers. This is present. Are there others one? Okay, so let's finish.
On behalf of my colleagues who are here, I would like to thank the team from University of Hull and the Bimtech team and all the participants here. It's been great pleasure coming here and being in front of you all. And special thank you to all the volunteers. I think they have done a great job. And again, special thanks to all the volunteers.
Thank you all, and indeed it was a learning session that would help us all in managing the supply chain and logistics management system in future. I would like to thank Professor Yong Hao Shi for their guidance and Dr. A. Sahai. I would request Professor Ashish to felicitate the speakers and Professor Shamsi Rahman to I would request Professor Shamsi Rahman, Nottingham University, to present honor to RMIT University to give kindly honor our session chair, Professor Vaishi and Dr. A. Sahai. I would like all of you, all the delegates, to move to Jacaranda 1 for the group photograph. Thank you all.